Good evening, fellow virtual town hallers. Thank you so much for joining. We have a nice lineup tonight. Hopefully you've seen the invite and recognize the value of our guests tonight. We'll be starting in a few minutes. Just give a chance for everyone to join. And just want to remind everyone that the strength and power of the virtual town hall is to engage with our panelists, to ask them questions, to give your feedback, to interact with them, to engage with them. That's the strength and the real power of the virtual town hall. Thank you so much. This event was marketed pretty broadly. It was not just a Mashadi event. We have some broad audiences here, I believe. Robert, hello. Hello to you too. Good evening. Hope you're doing well. And I see we have one of our panelists here. And we've got both here, so great. That was quick. It's 9 sharp Eastern. I think we have some crowds coming in from the West Coast and throughout the U.S. Hello. Sharif Sean, hello to you as well. And hello to all the waves. We're excited to be here. Salam, Michael Kavian, salam to you too. Salam alaikum. Shalom, hello. And we'll be starting shortly. Just give it, I think we'll give it another maybe 1 minute. We already have 50 individuals here, 50 plus. Thank you so much. While you guys are waiting, I think you know what this is about. Why don't you come up with whatever questions, comments that you have. It would be wonderful if somebody has the same courage that our panelists have, and that is to take the camera and the microphone and speak your mind. Either it's a comment, a question, a suggestion, praise, whatever it might be, but we'd love to see you on camera with your mic, engaging and interacting with our panelists. So just about 30 seconds, I think we will start. Just waiting for a few more folks to join us here tonight. And again, thank you very much for everyone who's taking time out of their schedules to come and be with us here tonight on the virtual town hall. And okay, I think without further ado, just introduced our speakers and our panelists for tonight. So you guys know me, hopefully by now, Andy Kaladi. Thank you again for joining the virtual town hall. With us tonight, I'm very, very excited to share with everyone. We have 2 coronavirus recoveries, and they're here tonight to discuss with us and elaborate on the experience that they went through, recovering, coming down with the coronavirus, recovering from it, thank God, and what is it that they experienced, what they went through, and what has life after recovery meant for them. And I think you'll hear some very inspiring words and initiatives that are being undertaken. And that's a part of the reason that we are all gathered here tonight. So please, I'd like to all welcome together. I know we can't hear claps. Maybe you guys can clap in the comment box for them to see, give any kind of comment or feedback. First, we have with us, I'm honored that Shervin John has decided and agreed to join us tonight. I had to twist his arm a little bit. He's not a very public individual. He didn't want to take the limelight and the spotlight, but he's special, just as Farzad Zar, my dear friend Farzad, is, in that they're not bashful or shy to get on camera and get on this live stream and share their experience with the rest of us. I know there's been a very poor stigma to coronavirus for some reason, and maybe we'll get into that tonight. Hello, everybody. Hello. Thanks for all the thumbs ups and waves and claps. Thank you very much for our panelists. It's been difficult to speak about this experience, so I really appreciate the 2 of them joining us tonight and putting themselves out there, speaking to the community. I think they're doing it out of love for community, and love for all of us, in that they want to see benefits and goodness come out of this experience that they've gone through. So first we have with us Shervin Mehdizadeh. He is, I'll go with his bio. Shervin is married to his dear wife, Sharmin. They've been married for 20 years and have 5 kids from 3 years old to 16 years old. Shervin has been a Great Neck resident for 40 years, since kindergarten. So if we do some math, I think that indicates Shervin is only 25 years old, if I'm not mistaken, if my math is correct. He is in the manufacturing and real estate businesses. And so, Shervin, thank you so much for being with us tonight. The other panelist we have is my dear friend Farzad Zar. We grew up together. We went to high school together. He beat me up when I was in high school regularly, and I still love him, and I thank him for being here with us. Last time he surprised us by going on camera. He was not well. He was lying in bed, and so he's with us tonight in a more formal kind of arrangement. Without further ado, I'll invite our first panelist, Shervin, to take the camera and tell us his stories. Shervin, I get a request and then join us, hopefully. Thank you again for everyone who's here. We have 100 individuals. You'll be happy to and thrilled to hear. Shervin, John, how are you?
Great, Andy. Thank you for having me. It's great to see you. I appreciate the invite tonight. Thank you.
Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy. I know you're very, very busy, and you'll tell us why in a minute, but I know you're very busy, and you'll probably have to leave a little bit early. I thank you, and I'm sorry I had to twist your arm, but I do thank you for coming.
Thank you. Just one correction. I'm 47. I don't know, maybe there was a typo in the math, but living in Great Neck 40 years. Went to kindergarten there. I just want to correct it for people who may actually fall for what you did, but thank you.
Okay. I think people will know. I'm going to throw some comedy in here. I think we could all use it.
I love it. We need it.
Saturday night, so we'll throw some of those in there as well. But thanks for the correction.
Absolutely.
So tell us your story.
Yeah, I've been corona-free now for 2 weeks. I'm sorry, I don't have a laptop, so my hand is holding the phone. I apologize for it shaking. I'll try to slow it down here. But I've been corona-free for about 2 weeks. I believe I caught it end of February for my older son. I thought I received the corona. I caught corona at APAC. But when I started looking back to when I started getting the headaches and the chills and the fevers, the symptoms, it was pretty obvious to me. I got it from my son who had the flu, Jake. The whole week before, he was feeling miserable. He had the symptoms of losing his taste buds and his sense of smell. And so he's recovering from the symptoms pretty nicely. He never went for corona testing, but his sense of smell is still not back. His sense of taste is back. And so I fell into it deep when I started the APAC journey. I was incapable of getting up with energy to go to the sessions.
Wow.
Staying through the meetings. I couldn't figure out what was going on. It was very difficult for me to say no to friends at night wanting to go out. And I just couldn't figure out what it was. And I came back, thought maybe I have a cold. And I started seeing through the APAC messaging that there were 2 people at APAC who had it. I said, let me go get checked out. On a Wednesday, I went to the urgent care in Great Neck by Rite Aid. And at the time, they were still not as busy as they are now. So within a day, I got my results. They asked me some questions to make sure I qualify. Once I said APAC, they grabbed me in. And so, you know, that was my passport.
You should have told them you give it to Ted Cruz. That way, for sure, they'll get you. That's a good thing to add to your bio. Imagine Ted Cruz with COVID-19.
Right. So I quickly got my results, and I got from the Nassau County Health Department immediately once I got the results, all sorts of paperwork, legal paperwork. Very impressive how coordinated they were so early on. Messenger came to the home with, I have my wife and 5 kids, so we got 7 proclamation-style, multi-page orders ordering me to be in quarantine. So it wasn't a self-quarantine. gave me dates and things that I have to follow. And they would call daily my wife Shervin they dropped off thermostats and wanted them to be all uniform.
Right.
And so we had 7 thermostats at home from them, very nice of them, marked with our names. And we would read out our temperatures daily. And I was the only one with a temperature. Thank God I quarantined myself inside the home, away from everybody. And I went through the journey. And for me, I was lucky in the sense that it didn't get to pulmonary difficulties. I got coughs. I got nervous. I had to go to the emergency room twice. But for me, it was a lot of pain, sometimes severe pain, and body aches when I say pain. I was taking a lot of Advil, unfortunately. And I learned after a few days, or a week, I should say, that I need to stop. And I realized when I stopped, my coughing started improving. And so I can say to you, that was really amazing advice that came over from Europe, I think.
So it's not just rumors, what we've been hearing about Advil.
No. And I'm not a guy that takes any type of these pills during the year. So I had to switch to Tylenol and figure out if it worked for me. And unfortunately, Tylenol was not as helpful. So it was really difficult to stay away from Motrin because I know Motrin will get the body aches away. I don't want to go too far into that topic. I just want to move on because there's a lot I know that Farzad wants to say as well. But in general, my symptoms were severe headache, body chills. My body aches were a point where they were mind-numbing sometimes at night.
Oh, my goodness.
And I'd have to really, unfortunately, shout in a pillow just to get through the hour of where the pain came. So I thought I had kidney pain, went to the emergency room. They were going to do they did all sorts of kidney tests and realized it's not the kidney, thank God. And they, after a few days, realized it's what's called a muscle freeze, which is worse than a muscle spasm. Being in bed for 2 weeks gave me the kind of pains which were unbearable. Thank God, with their advice to walk, the pain started coming out.
Wow.
Those are my symptoms.
That's excruciating just to hear. I'm glad you're here with us, and I'm glad you got through it.
Thank you. Thank you. Maybe we turn over to Farzad, and then afterwards I can give you some advice of what helped me through it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And talk further from there.
Thank you so much. So we'll be right back with you.
Sure.
Folks, while we're waiting for Shervin to come back, again, I'm sure we all have questions. At any time, if you have questions, you could post them in the comment box. Or just reserve your questions and you'll get on camera. That's ideally what we want to do. Get on camera and interact with our panelists. Farzad June, how are you?
I'm doing excellent. How are you, Andy?
Get the hell out of bed already. What's up with you? I want to see 10 jumping jacks right now.
In my room, I don't have a chair in my room, so I'm sitting in bed.
I want to see 10 jumping jacks on a double.
Easy, very easy. That's not going to give me a hard time.
Okay, good. Tell us your story, my friend.
So I had some similarities with Shervin. I'm glad he's doing better. And I had some differences as well. Mine started approximately, this Saturday night will be 3 weeks that I all of a sudden got a fever. And I wasn't feeling all so bad. It was just, Saturday afternoon, I started feeling not so great, and I knew a fever was coming on. I didn't have a fever until nighttime. And after Shabbat, I spoke to my brother, and he says, why don't you call hotline or 911 and just be prepared, see what you need to do in case your symptoms get worse. So I said, that's a pretty good idea. And I called 911, and they wanted to send an ambulance, and it refused. And they said, call the hotline. I called the hotline, and I told them that, you know, I'd been at synagogue on Purim, and my son's assistant principal had tested positive, and I'm just beginning to have a fever. And the hotline told me, go to the ER right now. I'm like, really? I just wanted to be prepared. Wasn't thinking of going right now, because all I was having was just a slight fever. The guy says, go to the ER right now. So Saturday night, it meant that, I don't know, around 10 o'clock at night, I got up, told my wife I'm going to the ER. got there, told them the scenario, and they sent me to a room. There was another guy in there. It said low risk. I was there from 10 o'clock until like 4:30 in the morning before they took me to the back.
Right.
Now at this time, I'm feeling very frustrated. I was extremely tired with the fever, and it's not coming down or anything. It's just getting worse. So I was like really, really, really tired and agitated.
I think if you go now to the emergency room, God forbid someone's going there now, they'll be a lot more agitated from what we hear. I think you were one of the earlier cases, right?
Correct. I was one of the earlier cases.
Right.
So I get there, and once they take me to the back, they question me, and their nurse is like, "Well, you shouldn't have come here. You're doing yourself more harm than good." And I said, "I came here on the account of the telephone call I had with the hotline. Otherwise, I wasn't planning on coming here. And if I knew it would take so long, I would have never come here." And they said, "Well, they don't have enough symptoms, and they don't have enough tests to test me for coronavirus." They said they took an x-ray of my chest, and they said it looks good. They did a flu test on me and a test for 6 other viruses.
Wow.
And they said the flu test will have results in 2 hours if you want to wait, or we can call you back with the results. And if everything turns negative, we're going to assume you have the coronavirus, and we want you to self-quarantine. If you decide to go out any place for any necessities, please wear a mask. I said, certainly. I left, came home. Sunday, I was home all day in bed. Monday, home all day in bed. The fever broke by late Sunday night. I didn't have a fever anymore.
But it's 3 weeks, you're still in bed. Get out of bed.
So Monday I felt weak, but I was still in bed. Tuesday I felt normal. I got up. I drive to the city by myself, so I got up and drove to work, and just all alone. Went to the office and came home. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday I came back, and I started not feeling good again. And on Wednesday they called me up finally. I left them like several messages. On Wednesday they called me up. Yes, all your tests came back negative, so we're going to assume you have the coronavirus. I said, really? It's Wednesday. This is Saturday night. Now you're calling me and you're telling me this? I feel perfectly fine. Look, you should be in quarantine. I'm like, I'm wearing a mask when I go out, but I'm at work. And if you guys don't have the capability of giving me a test and telling me you're definitely positive, don't expect me to just say I'm take you at your word of saying we assume you have the coronavirus. But the very next day I got home after work and I started not feeling good and had a fever. Now at this time, from Thursday night until Monday morning, it wasn't just the fever, it was body ache, and the body ache was excruciating. I just felt like somebody beat me up with a baseball bat. That's all I felt. That's what the pain was. All over your bones. I never, for the entire duration of while I had a fever from Saturday night until the following week, Thursday, I never even coughed once, never sneezed once, never had any problems breathing. But
Were you doing the same thing as Shervin with Advil versus Tylenol? Were you at that stage yet?
I usually do not take any pills. I don't like taking pills.
Right.
The only time I end up taking pills was when my fever would spike up over 101, 101.5 or so. I would take a couple of Tylenol to bring it down, but I knew that Advil was not good for it. So I from the day one, I always took Tylenol just to bring my fever down. But I would take 2 or 4 tablets a day at most. They didn't help me with the body pain, the Tylenol. So I just took it to bring my fever down. And I was still, I had diarrhea. I had a whole bunch of headache. But what really got me Thursday, after a week that I had fever for the second time around, I finally got the energy and I got up and I shaved for the first time in like 8 days. And
Right.
after I shaved, I sprayed cologne and I realized I cannot, for the life of me, smell this cologne at all. Now, while I was eating food, I was like, these food don't have any smell. I didn't realize it, but when you spray cologne on your face and you don't smell anything, it feels really bizarre. And that's when I knew I'm definitely positive for the virus because it's a side effect. You lose your sense of
Watch now.
smell.
We have 130 people. Half of us are gonna like start not smelling.
Spray,
It's just
spray.
no, we're gonna be paranoid. We're gonna have a psychosomatic illness and think that we have it.
So after Thursday, actually, when Thursday my fever broke, I started coughing maybe 10 to 12 times on Thursday itself and the whole day. Friday, my cough got slightly worse. Then by Saturday, Sunday, it started clearing up. And that was the gist of my cough. I don't cough anymore. Had chills for quite a bit. The chills would come and go when I had fever, especially. Even after I lost my fever a couple of times, I still got chills. But overall, I reached a point that I was just tired of being sick. And when you reach that point that you're tired of being sick is actually when it starts dissipating. And as long as luckily for me, I never had trouble breathing. It hurt breathing at times when I had the big body pain. I felt like there was a time I had fractured my ribs from snowboarding accident. I had the same exact pain when I would breathe. My chest was expanding. I felt like my bones had a crack or something. So that was the pain I was feeling in my chest. It wasn't from not being able to breathe, but just the chest expansion from breathing itself. That was one of the big pains that I had. And that was basically it. Even after I recovered, up until a couple of days ago, if I went 2 floors down to my basement, when I come back up to the bedroom level to do something, those 2 flights of stairs, I feel like really puts me out of breath coming back up and gets me a lot more tired than I used to be. So I'm not as energetic as I was before, but
Even today, or you're talking about like a week ago?
I'm talking about 2-3 days ago. For me right now, they no matter when I called them, they said you don't have enough symptoms for us to give you a test. So I never got a confirmation test.
That's crazy.
But I was okay, and it's passed, and every day I feel like I'm getting better and better.
It's nothing basically it's nothing like you've ever experienced before. So that for you was the indicative factor, basically, from what I'm hearing.
Absolutely, it was. I've gone maybe 1-2 days tops having a fever when you get a flu, 1 or 2 days.
Right.
This thing, I went for a whole week nonstop with the fever, and it was just you feel miserable.
Right.
And it just seems so prolonged.
Right. So we have a lot of questions. Thank you very much for your intro. We have a lot of questions coming back. I know Shervin is waiting, so I want to go back to him, and we'll come back to you as needed. And I thank you very much.
Absolutely.
So Farzad, thank you very much. Hold on. Let's go back to Shervin. Now, if there's anyone with questions, I see a lot of questions coming in, and we'll try to field them and address them. The panelists will. But if you're able to, I think it will be very, very worthwhile, both for the panelists and for myself and everyone else here. If you can grab the mic and the camera, get on camera, don't be shy. We're all here sitting nicely with our tops, but in our underwear below our waist. So don't be worried. Grab the camera and speak your mind, or oh, I see Esther is doing that. Okay, great. Or make your comments. But I do want to go back to Shervin real quick. and then maybe we'll field some questions that were typed and or get somebody on camera. So Shervin, if you can come back to us. Oh boy, what did I do? Now you have a mask on.
Judging by how Farzad sounded, my kid said maybe I should put my mask on with Donald Duck. So
that's good.
But you're
like
back, so let me take it off.
That's good. I think Pedram Brawl, Mayor Brawl, is going to tell us that you don't need masks for a virtual town hall, right? He'll agree with that.
Yeah, we'll accept that for tonight. So I thought I'd tell you a little about what I did real quick to get through it, what was helpful to me. And then I really want to focus on the blood plasma COVID project because time is not on our side. So my background, manufacturing, we work with citric acid a lot. It's got a lot of properties and in terms of disinfection and EPA land, EPA world. It's one of the most potent disinfectants out there. And obviously it has vitamin C. So I would take 3 lemons in the morning, or my wife Shervin would take 3 lemons in the morning with, wash them, put them in a blender. I'd ask her to grind it with the seed, with the rind or the skin. And
what about the peel?
On ice with the peel, the rind, the whole skin.
The whole peel, because we had a video that went viral in the community, and someone's actually taking bites out of a lemon.
Yeah, I started doing that, and I said it's not easy. I wanted the seed, I wanted the whole thing, so I threw 3 in there, put a few ice cubes, and she would put other stuff in there, and I would take a shot, and I would do 3 in the morning, 3 at night, and then in the middle of the day we would take. She had, I think it was Emergency, the vitamin C tablets that gel out because it's so much more potent than a tablet. So vitamin C is what was very important to me throughout the day. I was a big believer of staying active when it was really hard for me. I had no energy left. I would take a shower in the morning, the afternoon, and night, and I would take at least 1, maybe 2 baths. That got my body mobilized. You have to undress, you have to dress, you have to get the water ready or the shower. It helped get my chest soft, obviously the steam, close with the bath, with the shower doors.
If you would have told me, I would have had you do my yard work if you're interested in getting.
Yeah, I'm ready to do all sorts of work that I could have energized for. But the shower and the bath really helped me open up my chest. I would cause myself to cough to try to get whatever out I can. That was very important to me. And I had trouble sleeping at night. Insomnia set in, pain set in. When I started taking the shower at night, it gave me the solace, the comfort to sleep longer into the night. The big thing for me was going for walks in the yard and then eventually on the street. Oxygen is a very big disinfectant or kills germs. It doesn't let them live. So I would go for long walks. I would take deep breaths, hold it in. So I would say vitamin C through the lemon, the showers, and the walks were invaluable to me. And even though I got my fever reduced and all the symptoms were gone, it took me an extra 2 weeks to get full-bore energy back. It really is. I think it's a 3 to 4 week journey for some people.
The same question I asked Farzad, I'll ask you. Is this as far as illness?
Never in my life had the type of pains and symptoms, the unyielding chills. The fevers reached 101, I think. I maybe had one spike to 104, but 101 and 99 is where I swang between. So that's kind of, and I saw some questions I'll answer. In my family, my son, he's one who I think brought it home from school. My entire family stayed away from me. I was able to stay in my bedroom. My wife took another bedroom, and we really did not see each other much. Dinner in my room, lunch in my room. I would use a backdoor staircase to go outside. And so thank God we were able to keep it from the kids. I don't know. I think I saw some other questions. If anybody wants to write questions, and I'll read them. But I'm going to focus on the big topic that is really crucial right now, which is the Mount Sinai COVID project. Some of you may have heard about it. I'll give you a little background and tell you what we're really needing in dire need for, and see if we can get the word out. So the emails started coming from Mount Sinai, and we were able to, I was able to sign up, went through various questionnaires. They did a pre-screening online, And I started talking to people, and I realized people are not getting into the city, either the commute or they're worried about getting into a hospital again. So I started trying to get in touch with Mount Sinai, but I couldn't get a call back. And I was very fortunate enough at the time, it was Kismet or serendipity. I got a call from Nazi and Joe Moynihan, and she said, Shervin, I want to see if you can help me get 5 to 10 people in Great Neck and come to the city. And I said, Nazi, it's been a challenge, myself included, to get to the city. She said, I will send some Ubers and we'll get people in. I said, I think what we really need is to set up a base here and get people out in Great Neck with a local commute, and maybe get a blood van out here. She tried real hard, and at the end wasn't able to get a blood van out here. But the beauty of this whole project is Nazi's cousin is a doctor at Mount Sinai who is involved with this Cosma Plasma project.
So what is the project? I think I know about it, but I think maybe a lot of people don't know about it. Maybe you can explain that briefly. Sure.
So she said, Shervin, I will see if we can get Dr. Bander on the phone and ask him if he can arrange a van. And Dr. Bander came back and said, let's see how many people we get, and so on and so forth. We got to a point where van didn't make sense because the numbers, thank God, swelled. And Baruch Hashem, we're up to about 110, 20 people. And Bezrat Hashem, that number will continue to grow. And so we're past phase 1. And I want to tell you what the project is. Several weeks ago, and there's some articles online. If you Google COVID plasma Mount Sinai, and then you hit the Google News button, there are 3 articles: USA Today, USA Today, New York Times, and I believe there's a 3rd article. And each one gives some sort of, sometimes conflicting information, but as we all know, this is a very fluid topic. Plasma donation has been around, but the concept of using it to treat COVID-19 patients is novel. And it was really invented or started, from what I'm learning, at Mount Sinai. Wow. Just 2-3 weeks ago. And as you know, they have to go through rapid testing, the test validation, test development, test validation, get the FDA approval. Mount Sinai then published it to a hospital intranet, and that intranet was able to be plugged in by there are up to 34 hospitals around the country who are now adopting those procedures, using the equipment and the processes that are FDA procedures and approved. And so where we are, we don't have a hospital in Long Island, unfortunately, yet. We are in talks with Northwell. One of the community members reached out and asked some information, and on her own, she took it upon herself to contact Northwell, and they're now in touch with Mount Sinai to try to download the documents. They're several weeks away. But getting back to this, some beautiful information, it's working. The plasma transfusions are working. There are 1,500 people at Mount Sinai in Manhattan in the hospital being treated for COVID. Out of that 1,500, if I remember from my call a few hours ago, 400 or 500 are, I think I heard intubated, 400 or 500, or in ICU and intubated, or one and the same, really. And so they're needing hundreds of plasma donations. In one of the articles, I read that one plasma donation can go to 2 patients. And so there is a dire need to get the word out. Where are we in the process? You know, the numbers sound great, 120 people, Bezrat Hashem, maybe 200 people. But out of those 200 people, the statistics show only 3 or 4 out of 10 can pass the test to actually be a candidate. Why? The first step is
to donate. A candidate to donate, you're talking about.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. You know, there are 3 steps. The first step is, and we're going to send out the link that was created that has Great Neck now as a tab in there, so they can keep track of Great Neck donators. And so the first step is a pre-screen online. They ask questions. How many days, how many weeks, what was your temperature? And those questions will give a report that I'll be emailed tomorrow. That report, the first thing I'm going to ask for are volunteers. We're shorthanded. We need 3 people when that report comes in that I will give access to the Google Excel or the Google Docs, Google Sheets, I'm sorry. And those 3 people will receive the names of the people who were passed from the pre-screen on the Mount Sinai website for Great Neck Edition. They will call people and say, you passed, and we would like to give you an appointment, the date is this coming Tuesday. Every 15 minutes, one of 6 stations, so 24 people can go per hour. So did I do the math right? 4 times 6 every 15 minutes. Yeah, so 24 people per hour is what we're looking to churn through, because we only want 1 person in at a time per station. Each station is about 15, 20 feet away from each other inside Beth Hadassah at Steamboat Road.
Right. And by the way, we're already seeing volunteers here. I don't know if you're looking at your screen. Someone's volunteering to help. They have a statistical background.
I see that now.
So
I
that's
got
fantastic.
5 kids running around in the background, so I'm trying to focus, and I see that now. Thank you. Thank you very much, Life Can Be. That's beautiful. And so the first thing we need are 2 or 3 people that are Excel-driven, phone call, hit the calls and record the dates and times, and issue those to the people and confirm the spreadsheet, which will be online. So the hospital could now issue barcodes to the vials that will come Tuesday. Right. People will show up, they will stay in their cars, they will be called in one at a time. Their vials will be ready. This second phase is a blood screen. It's not the plasma big project. That will be for people who passed the online pre-screen, and now we're up to the screening. That screening will test for people who have had the antigen or the antibodies, had COVID-19. So one nice news is you'll know if you had it or not definitively. Right. From there, it moves into seeing if the blood, and this is the most important part, has at least 50 or 51% or more of the antibodies. A lot of people have the antibodies, but they're under 50%, and unfortunately, that's not enough potency for what the project requires. So, out of every 10 people, they go through the process of online, only 6 or 7 pass, and those 4 that don't pass will be screened again a week later to make sure that the COVID is out of their system. But the first thing is to get 6 out of the 10 people, hopefully, to pass. Out of that 6 out of 10 people, they go to the pre-screen of the blood. The blood will be taken, only 2 small vials will be taken in the van to the city, and within days, that patient, that donator will be told if their blood has had COVID and if the antibodies are over 50%. Those are the 2 litmus tests they need to accomplish.
So you don't need to have a positive COVID test in order to
No, because that's,
okay, great.
Far and few in between, unfortunately,
right.
these days. Excellent. And so, as the hospital described, this is a very grassroots project. The leadership of Mount Sinai is not able to be involved because this was designed by doctors who go into their offices, design these test methods, go back and treat the patients, unbelievable people on the front lines, and they're losing manpower, and yet running their patients as well as designing this process and trying to get on calls to help with the logistics. And so that second stage, when you give blood, 2 small vials, now you've done your amazing first duty, and from there we're waiting for the next third step, to be contacted back by the 3 people that hopefully will volunteer. We've got some names of volunteers, and they will call back and say, you know what, the good news is you've had COVID, you've recovered, and you're over 51% of the antibody. They will now give you a date and time. Actually, the beauty is now, from what we're learning tonight, we don't have to come back to the parking lot or the Beth synagogue. There are now stations set up. I don't know if urgent care is going to be one of the stations, the various urgent cares, but the normal places you go for blood are now able to do this.
The plasma, that's the plasma donation phase.
Yes, but it's really blood you're giving.
Right.
They will run it through their equipment, filter it to plasma. You're not getting a plasma machine next to you to filter the blood back. They take the blood and they will filter it out and do something with the blood. I don't know if they discard it or save it, and then they'll use the plasma. And that plasma will go to 2 patients. We'd love to have the plasma stay in our community. Unfortunately, that's not an option today. There are people, saving a life is saving a life. And so we're going to be helping people in Manhattan for now, and we'll see where the project goes. But I think that describes kind of where we are in the project. Oh, and here's the biggest thing that we're really needing. We need the medical community to help, because Mount Sinai thought, we have maybe 10 people and their 3 nurses or 2 nurses were going to be enough. They've now increased it to hopefully 3 nurses.
Right.
And Dr. Bander himself is going to be here Tuesday at 10 a.m. to 2. So we have those 4 hours, but with 3 nurses, we only have 3 stations to man. We need 3 more stations to get to the 6 stations. That's what's really important. So if there are people who are listening and get the word out, we have masks, we have the gowns and disinfectants. It's a simple station. 1 person walks to the station, gives 2 vials, and then walks back out. That's what's going on. And we need the other 3 people that know how to draw blood, whether it's doctors, PAs. I see Chantal, who's offered. Chantal, thank you for joining us. She's an amazing lady who's been very passionate about this. She went and gave her blood at Mount Sinai in the city, and today she got the news that her blood is not yet ready to be donated. She may have the antibodies over 50%, but they're not ready to take that in, but she's willing to be helping in the phone calls and so on and so forth. But we need people that could draw blood. That's what this is about. We need 3 or 4 people to draw blood, doctors or PAs or nurses, and then 3 or 4 people to make phone calls. So that's kind of where we are with the plasma project. And
thank you so much for sharing that with us. It's very inspiring. It's inspiring that you recovered from this, and now you just want to give back and back and back, right? You're not.
We were all there, and we saw Farzad and the pain he's gone through, and I have friends that and it's really hard. I've been getting 2-3 calls a day with basic advice from friends and community, and so that's that's manageable. But now we've been getting calls from people whose 51-year-old son is in a hospital in New Jersey and intubated for 4 or 5 days, or sons with their father-in-laws, and they need plasma now. And it's very difficult to not be able to, be there right now with that, or the hospitals that their family members are at. But I'd love to see if anybody has any questions, because I want to make this as lucid and accessible, so it's something you could touch and manage and get there on Tuesday. What we really don't want is people who have great intentions and then Passover plans get in the way.
Sure.
We want to make sure people come through and make their appointments. It's very clean, social distancing, sterilization. Your vial will be prepared beforehand with your name and barcode. Any questions to clarify? I see questions on medication. I was fortunate enough to get hydroxychloroquine about 3 weeks ago before Trump had brought it out. I got some friends at the FDA made a passionate, I forget what the technical name is, the compassionate plea, and the FDA approved it, and I was able to get it. I still have it. I didn't use it. I didn't know, what the risks were, and I just took it and held it in. So I didn't use hydroxychloroquine. I didn't use Z-Paks. I got through with the lemon, all I really did is the lemon and the vitamin C and Tylenol. I don't believe in lemon in hot water because it doesn't keep the quote-unquote chasiyat, or the nutrients in there.
Right.
And so I don't believe in that. Tea you have when you have tea, and lemon you have when you have lemon. The two together, I don't see the value of that. So that's my answer to someone who asked about what medication I took.
Right. Before we go on to more questions, I think it's important that we actually empower the crowd here to know how they can get involved, because I hear a lot of people want to get involved, including myself. Yeah. So I think, Shervin, what I suggested to you to be able to, rally the troops, I think the easiest way, because people want to just walk away knowing how is it they can get involved. One place And if there's one place I would suggest we just focus on the chat that we created dedicated to this. We called it Corona Blood Donors. And there you could disseminate, you know, the links that you were talking about, the link to the Google Sheets for Mount Sinai. I think that's a great facilitator and platform for you to be able to reach out for everyone to join, whomever's interested, that is, to join. And the chat will be very, very fluid and dynamic. So
Right.
with your permission, if we could just, I don't know if everyone could see this on screen, but it's tinyurl.com/coronablood-donors. So tinyurl.com/coronablood-donors. That will add you to a WhatsApp group that Shervin's actually an admin of, and he'll be able to disseminate, you know, schedules. He'll be able to tell you the different articles you're interested in. You'll be able to rally the troops with whomever wants to donate their time or knowledge or phlebotomist, whatever you're looking for, to be able to draw the blood and get this moving. I think that's the best vehicle, because if we give them a URL to the Mount Sinai sheet, they're not able to contact you and follow up with you. So if we can get whomever's interested, this is a live chat. It's active now, tinyurl.com/coronablood-donors. And you'll be able to join that chat, and Shervin will be there and guide you, and everyone else that's a volunteer, I think, be available there to guide you in what you need to do and where they need help.
Absolutely. That's wonderful. And thank you for joining. I just saw a gentleman named John ask, why does it get worse at night? You couldn't ask a more valid question. I had pains during the day, but my pains were severe at night, my chills, my body aches. And so I don't have an answer why. I believe a lot of it has to do with being immobile and resting on the same spots after 2 weeks, day and night. You're on your couch, you're in your bed. I think that had a lot to do with my body aches. I thought I had kidney failure. As I said, I went to the emergency room, and so they tested. I didn't have an infection. I didn't have kidney stones, but resting in bed caused the severe pains to start almost every night in my second week. Between 3 to 4, I don't know how else to say, there were mind-numbing pains for about an hour. I had to wake up, put ice on it, take 2 Townhalls, 650 milligrams. As I said, Advil was the death of me. I had to get off of Advil. But it does come at night. You're absolutely right. And I don't know why, you know, maybe that's to do with the bat juice that's in us from the bat virus, and something to do with the night. But you're right. It is very, very painful for some people at night. Let's see, and your Corona blood donors link is at the bottom. It can't be seen right now.
I'm going to correct that right now. Yeah.
Okay, I see. So if anybody wants to ask questions about our plasma drive, we're super excited with the turnout of 120 people. We just need to mobilize people to help, because we don't want to have a difficulty. Thank you, John. We don't have difficulty in not being able to collect the blood and then have only half of it. So that's what I asked for. Right now, you know, we have 120 texts in my inbox, in my text inbox, and you know how they are. You cannot forward it to people. So I got to figure out a way to go in there, get the stories in the inbox, get the numbers and the names of the people, and get it into a spreadsheet so we can get to them this link. The most important thing I could tell people is there is a link that was set up that's in the chat groups for the Mount Sinai link to the Great Neck tab. That's what we really need. Until I get to getting that out to the people that have desired to donate blood, if we can get that piece out, that'll really start the ball. That's our next bottleneck right now.
And Shervin, I have a lot of experience with tech and IT and resources that we can utilize. So by all means, if we can get folks into this chat, I think everything else will be very simple, because once we get the eyes, we can tell them this is the link you need to go to, and getting those links up and running is very, very easy. But we need to have a place of entry, and I think this would serve us very well.
Absolutely. Absolutely agree with that.
Let's go back real fast to Farzad, if you don't mind. If anyone else wants to get
a quick question from Life Can Be Tallene. Hello. The question about 14-day quarantine, all these will be filtered through the Mount Sinai website. They're very specific guidelines about your temperature, when you got better, and all that sort of stuff. So I don't want to say correct or not correct your question. There's a very methodical set of questions. And the right approach is to go to the Mount Sinai link that was set up for the Great Neck edition, hit Great Neck, fill out the questionnaire. The Google Sheets will filter, and I'm going to give some permission to the 3 volunteers to see whoever lands on that sheet has passed that set of questions. And if not, they're going to keep your name and call you in 2 weeks, depending on your answers, if you don't pass the pre-online screening. So there's a whole system that's set up. All you got to do is just follow it. It's a really nice set of procedures.
That's fantastic. And whoever commented on not being able to see the link, is the link up now for everyone? Are you able to see? It's www.tinyurl.com/coronablood-donors.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
And you may just type it in the comments so it gets a little clearer, because some of it is cut off. But yeah, I think people see it, and we'll broadcast that out.
That's a great idea. Thank you. We'll go real quick to Farzad. Shervin, I know you were real busy with this whole initiative. Can you hang out with us for another 10 minutes?
But absolutely, I'm totally okay.
Thank you. We're going to wrap up in 10 minutes because we're going to approach our 1 hour mark, and we're going to end it there. But I want to go back to Farzad. And actually, if there's anyone else that has any comment or question, we'd love for you to get on camera. I do see 2 requests. Liz Kashani, I don't know, did you mean to hit that button? We'll see in a second. We'll get you on camera. We're waiting for you to authorize if you did. Otherwise, just decline, and we'll know that that was a mistake. But hopefully you can grab the microphone and camera and ask your question, and then we'll get to the questions that are in the comment box below. So waiting for Liz. We'll give her another. No, so that was a mistake, apparently. We'll go back to Farzad. Farzad is here. In 1 second. Farzad, any thoughts on what you heard? I'm excited, and you know, I'm from a lay standpoint. I'm very excited about this.
So it's very good that they've taken the initiative and going after it. I would love to go and register and see if I can donate and see if my plasma can hopefully save somebody else's life. That would be amazing.
It would make it all worthwhile.
Yeah, it's fine lining. You know, whatever you can do to help save a life is nothing better in this world to donate than
right.
a party.
I think a good question. If we could go back to Shervin, unless you have another comment, Farzad, I want to ask him about when is the decline of the viability of the blood. I think there was some mention to. You know, are you still viable, for example? You've been, you know, fever-free for 2 weeks, let's say.
I've been fever-free for a week now.
For a week. So let's ask him, are you still able to donate, and are you viable?
I just wanted to make one comment about what Shervin said. Everything that I've been reading up and following up on this virus, if you do get it, whatever you're drinking, keep it warm to hot, not on ice. It's another recommendation that goes on most things that I've been reading up.
Is that legit and authentic, or is that along the lines of doing Szechuan down your throat?
No, not Szechuan down your throat. It's not. It's authentic. It's authentic.
All right, let's go ask Shervin about the time, the life of how viable this is, how quickly. Chantel, you wanted to say something. We'll go to you for a minute, hopefully, because we are running out of time, and then back to Shervin. So Chantel, thank you very much for your courage joining us on camera. Bravo. I know you're not Persian, right? Just because you went on camera.
I am Persian, surprisingly.
Oh, wow. So you're a brave Persian. All right, good.
I just wanted to quickly jump in because I did see some people that were asking questions about whether or not you would be a candidate. And I did go to Mount Sinai, as Shervin said, just a few days ago. I just want everyone to know, I know people are very nervous to go there because they think, you know, it's in the hospital, you're exposed. First of all, it's not in the hospital. You're actually a little bit further away at a separate building off campus. It's extremely, extremely clean. So if anybody's living in the city and wants to go there and do it that way, it's a very simple procedure. procedure. You come in, they draw 2 vials of blood. Someone was asking if they check to see if you are still positive for coronavirus. They do test you once again for coronavirus because they want to see that you have a negative test result. So once you have the negative test result and the antibodies that are high enough, as Shervin said, then they'll call you back to do the repeat blood work and to be able to donate the blood at that point. So I can't stress enough that you are really, truly able to save lives just by coming in and donating. Luckily enough, and to be recovered for those of you who are, have tested positive and have had symptoms. So Baruch Hashem, we were able to, feel so much better and recover from this. And it would be incredible if we could give back and help somebody else. I do know that there are some places that you can actually go ahead and donate to specific people eventually, but you do have to have those antibody tests already confirmed. So it's unclear how many times you can donate your plasma yet. I think they're still working on figuring that out. So if you, can, please do.
Thank you very much for all that feedback. And thank you very much for taking the camera. We really appreciate it. Absolutely. I do want to go back to Shervin real quick before we wrap up this 1-hour session. We do have another question. Hilda Lavi, hopefully we'll get to you. I'm not sure we will be able to. We could definitely try to do more of these and get more involved. Shervin, I want to tell you while you take a second to rejoin here on camera, I'll wait for you to join. Hopefully you're seeing the invite and you can authorize and get back. I want to tell you, I don't know if it's the fact that your physique, the fact that you're handsome or well-spoken, same thing for Farzad, but we've had a sustained 120 people sustained here, which is unheard of on this recent fledgling venture, but still. I
took a shower for the first time in a week and I cut my hair after a while. My family could finally see my face. Nowhere to go and get a haircut.
Sounds good. The question of how viable, let's say Farzad, is he able to donate? He's fever-free for a week. So how long can you be fever-free before it becomes non-viable? Is there like a time limit?
I'm very careful. Not that I'm holding back. The website has a bunch of metrics that calculate and let you know if you've passed the pre-screening. I will tell you, the ultimate test is when they take your blood and ask and find out if you're COVID-free and if you have over 50%. But the online will take you through a bunch of questions, and if you're 7 days, they probably won't take you, but it depends on a lot of other questions. They prefer 14 days. So that's one set of looking at it. The question you asked before about the value or the quality, I should say, of the blood. Some people's antigens are higher 3 days after the 14 days, feeling better. Some people's antigens are still potent 7 or 8 days, 10 days later after the 14 days. So the beauty is with today's technology, they're able to test for the antibodies. And the goal is to get people in to those tables for the small 2-vial pre-test. That's the most critical thing. But the online will filter out some people that are not ready yet, keep track of them, and ping them again in a week. And so that's my relay of message. Now I see my brother Roddy is reminding me of an important topic. He's writing here, what are your thoughts on using an oximeter to ensure your oxygen levels are okay? Thank you for reminding me, Roddy. Andy Cohen of Bravo TV has a great article online. He did something really bright, and I highly suggested my brother read it and forwarded it to me. I just forgot to bring it up here. He ordered a simple oxygen meter that goes on your finger. Some people have it on their phones. My Samsung phone has it. And, the goal is to be 97 to 98%. I'm not a doctor, but 97, 98% oxygen levels. The way Andy said to calm down your hysteria or your anxiousness, to use a better word, to keep the hospitals free, that oxygen meter will let you know if, you may think that you don't have good air capacity in your lungs, but there's a protocol and you could look up on his email, on his article, and you may feel bad, but if your oxygen shows you're at 97, 95%, there's no reason to rush to the hospital and take valuable space up, even though you may be nervous. So that's a great way to do a cell phone filter test.
I'm sorry to cut you off. We have 10 seconds remaining on this live stream.
Oh, thank you.
I'm just going to tell everyone, follow the link. And I'm sure, Shervin, we're going to maybe do another one of these Saturday night or Sunday to try to get more on board. Thank you, everyone.